All right, thanks, Kim. I appreciate it. We were all lives and all that stuff was true. It's a finals game. It wasn't that impressive. We played in the corner. It's not in Ferndale, Kim, so that's all right. So thankful for the opportunity to be here. I got to stand in this spot a number of times in my life. Oftentimes when I was here playing, getting to talk about much different things. Today I get the opportunity to talk about who Jesus Christ is in my life. And that, to me, more than anything, has become my greatest passion. What I care most about. It's the only lasting thing that I really see in this world. And so I get an opportunity to share who that guy is to me, why he's so special, and why sport has such a cool intersection into who Jesus Christ is in the kingdom that he has issued into our world. So I'm going to start by reading this. You guys probably didn't know this about me. I didn't play this way. I'm a pretty sensitive person. And I'm easily emotional about things that I care about, so you have to bear with me in my shaky voice a little bit today. So, can I take this thing out?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to start by reading, some of you guys have probably heard this, is pretty popular, but it's called The Man in the Arena. Theodore Roosevelt said this is one of the most famous quotes that he has, but I love it. I'm going to kind of tie it into what we're doing today. It says, "It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who was actually in the arena, whose face is marred with sweat, dust, and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall not be with those cold and timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat." I love this. One of my favorite authors of books in the Bible is Paul. And I read this from Theodore Roosevelt. Gosh, he had to have just got done reading Corinthians or Romans or something when he wrote this, because it sounds like it's Paul's writing. And the part that really stands out to me is who spends himself in a worthy cause. We all in our journey of our life have to find those things that we're committed to that's a worthy cause. There's a lot of things that are presented as worthy causes. There's a lot of things that we can lend our time and our efforts to, that for a period of time could be a worthy cause. I believe there's one that we can commit our lives, our efforts, our hearts, and our times to that is a lasting worthy cause, and that is the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Amen. I'm
going to read to you guys a little bit of the commitment that this man made to us in Mark 14:32 through 41. It's Jesus in the garden. This is about a week before he is to be crucified on the cross, and he shares this in the garden. It says, It says, "They went to the place called Gethsemane, and Jesus said to his disciples, 'Sit here while I pray.' He took Peter, James, and John along with him, and he began to be deeply distressed and troubled. 'My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death,' he said. He said to them, 'Stay here and keep watch.'" Then you read down a little bit, and you get to verse 37. He said, "Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. He said, 'Simon,' he said to Peter, 'are you asleep? Couldn't you keep watch for 1 hour? Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.'" And I think that's so descriptive of one thing that I really love about the character of Jesus is it's God fully embodied. But in human nature, he's 100% man and 100% God. So I can relate to him. I can relate to this character of Jesus because he walked in the flesh just like I do. He had the same struggles that I have. And you see in this moment, you see you see God going, man, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I don't know if I can handle this. But if it's your will, I'm willing to serve it. And he goes on and he's talking to his disciples, but I think in a lot of ways he's talking to himself. When he says, man, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. I think his flesh was weak in that moment. But his spirit, his divinity, wasn't. It was willing. That was the plan from the very beginning. When they ordained creation in the beginning, and it says that we were made in their image, or he made man in our image. It's plural. God wasn't the only one present when we were created. There was multiple. Jesus was there at creation. This has been the plan from the very beginning. It's not an accident. It's not something that they did as a plan B. It's the plan that was instituted at the very beginning of creation. And it's fulfilled right here. And he still is like, man, that separation with you, Father, I don't want that. I don't know if I'm ready for that. I don't know if I'm capable of fulfilling that. But I'm committed to serving your will. I'm committed to that. And he follows through with it. You see it. You see him follow through with it. When I was asked, what do you want me to talk about? Mike said, the theme is kind of commitment. So as I prayed about what does commitment mean? What does it look like? How do you live it out? And just kind of came across this, and I said, man, that's commitment. We commit ourselves to a lot of things in life. But ultimately, commitment is committing ourselves to things that we lose in sometimes. That us and ourselves and our flesh, we lose. We may not get to see the fruit of every one of our commitments. That doesn't mean it's not worth it. That doesn't mean it's not valuable. That doesn't mean it's not valid. Sometimes we do not get to reap the benefits of the investments that we make here on earth. That doesn't mean that those commitments are worthless. It doesn't mean that it's a waste of time. And I think this is a perfect example. Jesus died on the cross with not one person with him. Not one. Everybody had abandoned him. The 12 that he gave his life to for the 2.5 years before he died left him, betrayed him, denied him. None of them were there. They all fled to save themselves. He was the only one who fulfilled the plan. Because he was strong enough to do it in the spirit, not in the flesh. The other 12, they gave in to their fleshly desires and protected themselves. Because they were worried about what would happen to them. When he resurrects, what do? Every one of those 12, not 12, 11 of them go on to live and die a martyr's death preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. Now, if that didn't really happen, why would they do that? Why would they betray him and 3 days later they go on to live a life where each one of them died? They gave up their life to be able to preach the gospel that they so intimately felt to be the only hope that they had and that others had. That to me is amazing. That to me is a commitment that's worth making. Each and every day, no matter what it means for me, no matter what it means for my circumstances, no matter what it means for the reality of my life, what I get to be involved in, that's all white noise. It doesn't matter. Who cares? I get to be committed to something that I know there's hope in. I can guarantee myself there's hope in. I know it. I stand here fully confident of the hope that I have in who Jesus is and what he calls me to. And I'm committed to serving that will because I know how real it is. I've experienced how real it is. And it's not just my experience that tells me. It's also the validity of the gospel and who this man was and continues to be. Like I said, I love Paul. I think when I think about Run to Win, one of my favorite scriptures is from his first letter to the Corinthians 9:24. It says, "Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore, I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. No, I strike a blow to my body, and I make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself may not be disqualified for the prize." It's talking about preparation. It's talking about our ability to prepare for the battle that really, really matters. Athletics is something that brought us all together. I think it's a common ground that we can all in this room find. And as I look at my athletic career, what I'm so thankful to have learned in that time is Commitment. Athletics taught me the commitment that I need to be able to enter and engage the combat and the battle that God calls me to against the devil. Because if you don't think he's real, and if you don't think he's here to steal, kill, and destroy you, you're wrong. Look around. Look at our world today. He is present, he is active, and he is actively seeking to steal, kill, and destroy each and every one of us. And we as athletes, this is one thing that I get really excited about. When I got done playing, the biggest challenge for me was, man, how can I be competitive? I want to be competitive. I like to be competitive. I want to compete. That's what I loved about sport. I wanted to compete. I didn't always, wasn't always the biggest or the fastest. Sometimes I guess I was, but when I wasn't, it didn't matter to me because I only hoped that you were going to compete as hard as I was. That was my hope, is that I was going to line up against somebody that prepared and was willing to compete as hard as I would. To be really honest with you, there wasn't a whole lot of times that I lined up and believed you were ready for it. I didn't. And I loved that. I fed off of that. That's what motivated me. I have found that same ability to compete for the gospel of Jesus Christ and for the hope that he offers. And we get to enter this battle every day. But it requires a preparation, just like we as athletes have to prepare. It requires the same exact thing. And we put in, these guys that are training, how many days do they train for 12 games, for 12 opportunities? They put in far more time training than they do competing. Why do we think our spiritual walk is anything different? How come we think we can be complacent and then when that opportunity comes, we'll be ready? We need to prepare, we need to train. We need to be committed to that cause like we are been committed to so many other causes in our life that are fleeting and that won't last. And today, if I could share anything of value with you, that would be it. That I found the value in committing my life to who Jesus Christ is and the call that he's put on my life. It's a responsibility. I see it as that. And I'm going to do my best to be prepared, to run after with enthusiasm. And Tony Evans, in his book called Kingdom Man, he wrote a line that I just love. And I hope it's true of me. But he said, man, my prayer is that each and every day when I get up and my feet hit the ground, the devil goes, oh no, he's up again. And that's my prayer. Because I don't think he'll be